Good evening, good evening, good evening for the third try. I've actually just tried this a couple of times, but my brain is so sluggish at the moment that I'm getting all kinds of things mixed up. So please have some pity on me. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea, folks. Again, I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but real quick, the trigger warnings and disclaimers. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to see pertinent links right there in the description box. And now, straight to the warnings. We'll discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you do got young children present, please utilize the headphones. On this channel, it is marked not for kids. The reason being, we do use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child is watching this and they are 16 or younger, parental supervision is very much advised. Also, another trigger warning. I am a special kind of sludge brain, worm vomit / word salad mess. I am all kinds of discombobulated and some of those verbal communication issues and tics that I really hate in regards to my diagnosis are plaguing me this evening. So, folks, please be kind. I'm doing the best I can. And this is why we always talk about fluctuating functioning on this channel here when it comes to us autistics. Because most days I will talk your ear off. Other days, if I can string a single sentence together, it is going to be a holy miracle of God. Tonight just so happens to be that night. So please be kind. I'm doing the best I can, all right? Okay. So, we all know the JRC gaslighting, victim blaming, character assassinating capital of planet Earth. So, I know you all who have been with me for a minute are prepared, and if you have not been with me until recently, you're about to get an education. So, where we left off earlier today. All right. We went through almost this entirety of that second paragraph here. Where we left off is the JRC first attempted positive only and non-invasive ABA interventions to treat GA, including differential reinforcement, rewards, extinction, token fines, verbal no, and redirection, environmental and antecedent manipulations, and loss of privileges. I'm bringing up this particular sentence again because once again, one of those things where they pack so much in a paragraph, almost like they're trying to get you to not pay attention to it on purpose. But I'm going to redirect you there for a reason. Anybody else noticing the specific words they are choosing here in that sentence? Positive only and non-evasive. I hate to bust the bubble of mainstream ABA here, but please allow me to be blunt. When it comes to ABA, there is no such thing as non-aversive. When they use terms like that, they don't actually mean what you and I would read that to mean. Aversives are a very central part of ABA. What they mean by non-aversive is instead of the physical adversives that used to be used, like their version of whiter warning where they would like put a cloth over your face and tighten it at the back of your head and squirt water on you. those are the kind of things that have been removed from current practice in regards to ABA. But that does not mean all the adversives are gone. It just means that the adversives that they use are not physical. Allow me to say that again, and then I'm going to explain it for you. When they say non-adversive, it does not mean that there is no adversives at all that they're using with modern ABA. What it actually means is that there's no physical adversives being administered in regards to ABA. Not that there is none. So what that would look like specifically, if we're talking ABA tactics here, is in the regards of if your kid is screaming their heads off due to severe sensory issues, and they are very clearly distressed. What ABA will advise a parent to do is to completely ignore their child's pain and screaming until we can use our words. They haven't quite got back to me yet in regards of if they stub their toe or hit their kneecap on the sharp end of the coffee table at night, whether they use their words or yell, "Ow, fuck," has been a question that continues to go unanswered to this day, and I have asked it a lot. When I bring up double standards, this is exactly what I mean. They want us, as I like to say, more human than human. We got to be more neurotypical than the neurotypicals. Because nobody is going to stop a neurotypical child if they ram their leg in the sharp end of a coffee table and tell them to use better words. They're not going to be reprimanded for screaming out or crying because they're in pain or they have a sensory issue or they feel sick. We autistics within the binds of ABA are not given those same types of luxuries. You see, we're not allowed to scream in that type of situation. Because if, instead of having a normal human reaction going, "Ow, fuck," if we don't immediately, I don't know what they expect. Apparently, they want me to spout random poetry I pull out of my ass, I guess, to be proper communication. It's a double standard. And regardless of what they try to tell you, it is not in any way, shape, or form any version of normal whatsoever. Okay? So, they will have parents do the aversive technique of cold shoulder and ignoring your child, giving them no attention, doing nothing to try to figure out what's wrong. You are to act as if there's nothing going on and you can't hear anything at all. Now, people will say, well, obviously, Tiff, this is to encourage communication. Okay, but you all seem to have this thing where you don't really think we're human. Which means, if I'm screaming because I'm in a massive amount of pain, and because I'm a part of an ABA program, my parent is taught to ignore that pain. What if it's a severe issue? What if you rammed your leg into the sharp end and hit it at such force that there is bodily damage that if it's not taken care of right away, it's going to create complications? What if it's a sensory issue? Well, can't you use your words, Tiff? I got your words. I'm being nicer on my channel, so what I'm doing right now in flipping a particular sign, I'm not going to show you. This is my version of nice. Alright? We shouldn't have to give you a damn soliloquy in order for you to help us if there's something that is obviously wrong. Expecting us to use our words in that type of situation again just shows me how little we are actually valued as human beings. Or put bluntly, you still just don't think we're humans at all. Because otherwise, if that was, say they got a neurotypical sibling, that neurotypical also rams their leg into that sharp end of the table. If they scream out in pain, are you, the parent in the other room, going to sit there and ignore them until they use their proper words? Of course you're not. So why is it demanded of us? It could lead to a very bad situation if you do what ABA tells these parents to do. You don't even know what your kid is screaming about. Things can get real quick. You're just going to sit there and ignore it because some dickhead with a clipboard tells you that if they don't use their words, your kid's not trying? Fuck that guy. Alright? I'm trying to be better about cursing here. But yes, the example is, to get back to my point, ABA still uses aversives. That hasn't gone away. The type of aversives that they use in the place of physical aversives are psychological ones. That's cold shoulder. You do not get to have that snack with dinner. Oh, that's your favorite stuffed bunny? Well, I'm going to remove it off to my room, and if you don't act completely fan-fictionalized version of neurotypical for, we'll say 10 to 15 hours, then you don't get to have this bunny that I've already given you that you use as a self-coping texture thing. Okay? Remember that. Because when they tell you non-aversives, that isn't actually what they want you to think it is. Number 2, the positive only, right? I hope more than just me were able to see that. It's alluding to, and what most people would write in for them, positive behavioral reinforcement, as that is currently the types of interventions right now that is most widely used. Right? Here's the thing. If you use similar enough words, the human brain can and will trick us into believing that it's actually what we think it is instead of what the word actually says. So when they say positive only, this is not a reference to positive behavioral reinforcement. Okay? No. What they mean by positive only and non-aversive is that at first they use the now traditional ABA psychological mindfuckery, and they use the stick and carrot routine. They haven't got to the physical yet, so let me kind of give you a little bit more information here. So what that means is, if you do this right and act like the perfect neurotypical, you could have a pizza party. If you can't do that, we are going to drag your ass in front of the Massachusetts probate court, threaten your parent with full removal from their custody if they don't agree to put you on a shock device. And yeah, you don't behave, you go on the torture device. Just to break it down for you all right? Because our brains really do that. That's why I've had to split these paragraphs in half to pay a little bit more attention. Because even being in this for multiple years, my mind does the same thing. You see a similar type of wordplay, and your brain automatically fills in what you think they're talking about. But when people use that positive only, as opposed to the full term, they're not doing, in regards to intervention, what you think they're doing. It is stick and carrot. This or else. Okay? You'll get worded with a pizza party if you can fake being a neurotypical and keep your mask up long enough. If you can't do that, you're going to get shocked, food deprivation, and sleep deprivation. Okay? Don't let them fool you with the positive only. Nor let them tell you, but non-aversive means there is non-aversives. No, it just means none of the physical violent aversives are being administered yet. Okay? Keep that in the back of your mind here, because these people really do like to play wordplay, and the only time they really get called out is if somebody who also already works in the field are willing to comb through their stupidity and point it out. So let us continue here. Deferential reinforcements, rewards, tokens, verbal no, redirection, all of this crap. And again, they are forcing this kid through all this crap, through residential program after residential program, willing to essentially do everything on planet Earth except for the full functional behavioral assessment. It's not shocking it didn't work, because the program that kid was put into, the multiple programs that poor kid was put into, were not given any useful information in regards to where the issues are. In regards to my program, even when I switch doctors, specialists, depending on the situation, they always have my full medical history in front of them. They're going to have context. They're going to see where I started at, and how things have progressed in some areas, where I used to never have trouble, all of a sudden now have trouble, so now we have to address that. All of that is available to the entirety of my ever-growing team. Alright? Where they have that context, where it is detailed out, so that the folks that are working with me know how best to help me. If that full functional behavioral assessment is not done, that means regardless of where you send the kid to, they do not have access to that information. So, how, in that case, when you are essentially handing off this kid and giving them nothing, do you expect that somehow the intervention, the meds, what have you, is going to work? You can't. Because you can't even point to the things that have gone wrong. You're giving them nothing and expecting a miracle. And then you get exhausted and angry when that keeps not working. Now, I'll say it again. This is not a failure of the parents. This is a failure of the schools. This is a failure of the clinics out in Massachusetts, who should be immediately after confirming diagnosis referring the parents to get a full functional behavioral assessment done and start getting them into the service system before decisions start being made in regards to interventions. If you want an intervention to actually work and help your child in an area that they need it most, the best way to do it is to find out what those issues are first instead of sending your kid in there with a blank sheet and expecting that they're just going to automatically know. Now, parents are not going to necessarily know that. The fact that my mom did is only through sheer coincidence of her being in the healthcare field for so many decades. I got goddamn lucky. But Missouri out here also, and I know this having eventually worked for the same people that helped me get into the service system myself. They are both friends and a part of my treatment program. Okay, sorry. I did say that there would be a few foibles this evening, right? If they have nothing to go off of, how in the name of God, regardless of how high rated the school, the medication, the community based or residential based program to work? They do not have ESP. They are not psychic. And contrary to popular belief, not every single expert on autism is an expert within the same field. Now, what that means is there is just no, well, this person is an expert in autism and they know everything about autism. What it actually looks like is a little bit more like this. This person, who's a part of my team, has worked in vocational rehabilitation projects, has worked as job coach, job counselor, and have a network of employers that work well with them, that is a part of that team. So that's their area. They're an expert in getting people like me employed or ready for secondary education. That's that bro here. All right? Or we'll use my little blue bottle here. That's that guy. Right? Okay. The other person is an expert in how autism can interact with comorbid conditions. We'll use the Sprite bottle. That's that guy. They specialize in working with how the other diagnoses affects the autism and vice versa. Okay? That's their expertise. These are going to be the folks that I'm going to be speaking with, not just in regards to autism, but the PTSD, the extreme anxiety disorder, and the clinical depression. That's that guy. That's the expert for that. Right? Okay. In here. This bra is going to be the neurologist. Okay? That's the neurologist. They're on the science side of things, right? Helping uncover the areas that are a bit more on the technical side, right? Okay, cool, right. This little bra here, we're going to call it an envelope, okay? This is going to be my case manager. My case manager is attached to me through the Missouri Department of Developmental Disabilities, also known as DDS, through the Department of Mental Health. They're on the south side of town, where my old building was, where I used to work out of, okay? These folks are kind of your ringleaders. they essentially are the link to get this full circle, full teams together to work together within the treatment program. And last of all, this right here, this is your other circle of support outside of the professional sphere. So this is going to be our teachers. This is going to be potential employers. This is going to be any direct care staff or community integration staff, depending on what exactly that you need. That's this right here. All right. The reason why I just kind of walked you through all of that is because that's how it actually works. Nobody's a full expert on the entirety of autism and how it interacts in every little piece of it. It's too large of a subject. So what we have is a whole lot of specialties to act as supports to the parents, to those in the community that we draw into our circle support if they choose to or not. You see where we're going here, right? Okay, good. So yeah, I brought that up because there is not full experts. Those type of teams, like what I just walked you through, are built from, and say it with me folks, the full functional behavioral assessment. That information guides us in regards to the type of experts, the type of services, the type of day, residential, or community-based programs that you need to be involved in, what psychiatrist and psychologist you're going to need to have a part of your team, as well as a neurologist, okay? Yeah. It's kind of a little bit more in depth than what the people at JRC want you to realize, all right? You can't build a proper team and then work together with that team to make the best educated decision in regards to what types of treatment programs that you're going to need to be doing if that assessment doesn't get done. If that assessment doesn't get done, you don't have a team. You're sending a child to a school that you barely know of without knowing whether that particular school is going to have what's going to help that kid or not. Again, you're up shit creek without a paddle. Okay? All right, I think that makes that particularly clear. Now, in regards to, but we've changed environmental and antecedent manipulations. One of the things about the full functional behavioral assessment that seems to skip the JRC's mind is the fact that if folks don't have that assessment done, how do you even know what in the environment could possibly be triggering them? If you don't have that assessment done, how do you know if loss of privileges is even going to do anything? Let me be pretty blunt here. When I was a kid getting punished, and they would remove privileges, gaming consoles, if we had small TVs, for me it was always removing my books, right? Now, did that work and help me progress? Unfortunately, not for them. They had to find out the hard way. Contrary to popular belief in regards to autistics like myself, I do have an extremely active imagination. I can create little stories for myself inside my head with absolutely nothing in the room with me. I could literally lay on my back right on my bedroom floor and stare at the ceiling without blinking for hours and be completely content making up those stories in my head. So, the so called isolating me did nothing. They had to figure that something else out there. And they did. If you appeal to the Tiffany with logic and explain your reasoning, I take it under advisement and will usually use it later. Thankfully, my mom is an extremely logical human being, and it was a very easy switch for her as well as my rest of the team to make. If you don't have that full functional behavioral assessment done, these poor people at these additional schools don't have that. So if you manipulate the environment, you are once again creating another change out of nowhere. I've told you how well we deal with that, right? Yeah. We don't, okay? We really don't. Or loss of privileges? Again, I just explained to you why, for some of us, that doesn't matter and it doesn't really change anything. So, what are these schools who get sent these kids to do when they're not being given anything else and you have desperate parents who are expecting a miracle? The rules are the rules for a reason. If you keep sending a kid to school after school, the behavior gets worse, and none of the interventions you are doing is working, tells me you've got that kid on the wrong program. The fault is not with the kid, it's with the so called experts at the JRC and all these other predatory schools who are absolutely the right people to blame. And yes, I do blame those initial contacts within the clinic after diagnosis. My doctor knew to refer us to the state to get that full behavioral assessment done right after diagnosis before any other conversation had even been had. This is Missouri GOP hell. We have a Republican senator just within this last year defend child brides on our own Senate floor in Jefferson City. If we know how to do this sort of thing correctly, but Massachusetts doesn't, dear God, take a look in the mirror at the very least. All right, folks, we're going to close out for tonight. I have some chicken pad thai that is calling my name. So, I did tell you that I'm all discombobulated. Please forgive me for that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do get tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to utilize those comments. I appreciate your time. It's obviously not near New Year's for us here out in Missouri yet, but nonetheless, Happy New Year, you all. As always, I hope you all have a good one. I'll be seeing you all tomorrow. It is time for chicken pad thai. Bye bye, everyone. Have a great night.